Hi, James Cook with Yale Realty and Capital Advisors in our Miami office. Something I've been running into in the manufactured housing space that I thought would be worth sharing a little bit about. Lately, I've had a couple listings that have CPI limited prospectuses. And what I mean by prospectus or CPI prospectuses, the leases or the prospectus in Florida that in these communities that this tenant base has, they're limited to CPI only rent increases. But we run into this issue often where a park or a manufactured home community has rents that are way below market. It's been in the family for 30, 40 years. It needs some improvements. It's a little outdated often, needs some new amenities. You might need to bring some new homes in. You might need to refresh the community, but the rents are low. This will attract investors because they can take those rents to market. And there's just kind of a careful balancing act that I want to discuss today. This is a personal issue for me that I think is very important. We don't want to see investors dramatically raise rents on a given existing resident base. Meaning, let's just give an example of a park I've got listed in Central Florida. We just took it to market. It's down south of Orlando in the center of the state, beautiful park. And the average rent is $460 inside the community, whereas the surrounding rents, the average rents are over $600. In this case, those existing residents actually have a CPI prospectus, which is what they were given when they bought their homes. They're protected. Those rents can only go up by 3.4%. But you can go to market on turnover in most, if not all cases. There are some rent controls around the country that are brutal, extremely debilitating to the entire market. And if you have ever actually driven a market that has extremely strict rent control, you'll find that a lot of the communities and a lot of the multifamily in the area is really starting to decline or be neglected because there's no way to ever get those rents to market. The owners are losing more and more margin every year as their inflationary expenses go up with payroll, with labor, taxes, insurance, maintenance. They lose more and more margin. And I've been to, for instance, Massachusetts, and the parks are brutally maintained. They're in complete decline because the rent control is too strict. Again, there's a couple markets out west where this may happen too, where you can't even go to market on turnover. But if you're buying a community in most of the country, 75% of the country, where there is no rent control, the rents are, let's just use the example, 400, the market is 600. The most fair thing to do is to do your regular rent increases on your existing residents. I would say maybe your first rent increase because your real estate taxes are going to go up because you're going to do some major improvements. You're going to get your most grace with the residents on a rent increase. Maybe you'll do a 10% rent increase the first time, maybe even 15% the first year. Go from 4 to 450, 4 to 440 in that first year. From that point forward, I would index that to 5% CPI, something very reasonable. But when that resident does move out, I would go to market. And again, this is the most fair thing because you're allowing your existing residents to get used to the higher price over time, fit it in their budget. You're increasing the quality of the community as you raise your rent. So you get some time to do some improvements to the community, make it a better community, make it a nicer community to attract higher end residents to buy those homes from them if they no longer want to pay the higher rent. But then the new residents coming in are going to be brought to market, which is going to be the most economically fair thing to the property, to the landlord, and it's what's actually going to keep these properties viable in the long run. We see this occasionally where an owner will keep rents low for too long, and then eventually a developer will come along and offer them more for the property than the community's worth. So by keeping your rents too low for too long, you ultimately drive the quality of the property down. You'll have lower quality tenants. You'll not be able to put as much into maintenance, not be able to put as much into amenities. And ultimately, the community will go into decline. And we actually see those communities go out of service, get redeveloped, and then we lose that entire affordable housing stock. So again, go to market on turnover. Don't abuse your existing residents is my advice. We're trying to be courteous, conscientious of the existing residents, keep it in their budget, keep it something they can live with, and then increase the quality of the community so if they can't afford the new lot rent, don't want to pay for the new amenities, they can sell their home for more than they paid for it in a lot of cases and move somewhere else. So it's just the most fair thing. It keeps the property open. That owner who did buy that community and is taking those rents to market will actually guarantee that property stays a community for the long run because at this point, the community on the West Coast, the coastal community, was destined to be redeveloped. If he didn't take those rents to market, it would disappear. Thank you. I hope it made some sense and tune in for more content. We'll be trying to share some things we're experiencing as we deal with hundreds of owners, financing sales every year. We learn a lot from our clients. We'd like to share that with you.